Okay, so let's just jump right into today's deep dive. I mean, imagine taking your absolute best, like Michelin star master chef, and just permanently assigning them to dishwashing duty.
You'd be bankrupt in a month.
Right, you'd be totally ruined. But according to the economic data we're looking at today, the global corporate world is doing exactly this. And our mission today is really to unpack this massive systemic inefficiency.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of this famous Peter Principle. I mean, we all kind of know that one, right? That 1969 management theory where men get promoted until they reach this level of complete incompetence.
Like taking your absolute best baker, making him the CEO.
And then watching him just bankrupt the bakery because he doesn't actually know how to run a business. Exactly.
Right. But so today we're pulling from research by Tom Schiller, the Rady School of Management, and McKinsey. And we are tracking what's called the Paula Principle.
Which is this wild phenomena where highly educated women are systematically kept working way below their actual competence level.
And why should you, listening, care about this? Because this competence gap just wastes a staggering amount of human capital and directly impacts the efficiency of your own workplace.
Yeah, and to really understand why this happens, we have to look at the crossover effect. Because across developed nations, women are drastically outperforming men in educational attainment. Like in the UK, there are about 1.37 million women in higher education.
Wow, that's a huge number.
Yeah, compared to just 1.04 million men.
Yeah.
So the talent pool is overwhelmingly female and highly qualified.
But then you look at the top of the corporate ladder and they just aren't there.
No, they're really not.
He's like, the rungs of the ladder are spaced perfectly for one specific type of climb, but if you take a different path, you just get stuck holding the ladder at the bottom.
That is actually a great way to visualize Schiller's research on structural barriers.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is his breakdown of the 5 pillars, especially how networking is intensely gendered.
Oh, right, the vertical versus horizontal networking?
Exactly. So men often leverage vertical networks. Informal drinks with executives, playing golf with the boss.
Which builds direct leverage for a promotion.
Right. Meanwhile, women are often pushed into these horizontal networks, like peer support groups that offer fantastic emotional and professional backing, but they completely lack that vertical leverage to actually pull someone up a traditional corporate hierarchy.
Okay, well, let me push back on that for a second, though, because if a woman is objectively more qualified and getting better results, I mean, shouldn't a profit-obsessed company just automatically promote her?
You would definitely think so.
Yeah, like in a ruthless capitalist system that only cares about the bottom line, leaving top talent on the table makes literally zero sense. Why does this bias survive?
It's because the psychology of hiring managers totally short-circuits that basic logic. If we connect this to the bigger picture, a study by the UC San Diego Rady School looked into this hiring parity gap.
Okay.
And they found that when managers see an overqualified man, they reject him. They just label him a flight risk.
Oh, because they assume he'll feel too good for the job, get bored, and leave.
Exactly. But here is the bizarre part. When they see an overqualified woman, they actually eagerly hire her.
Wait, really? Why wouldn't they just apply that exact same flight risk logic to her?
Because of historical biases, they view overqualified women as highly committed and safe. They just assume she values stability over ambition, or, that she's just willing to settle.
Wow, so she gets the job but enters massively undervalued and just becomes trapped in a lower-ranking role.
Yes, and the macroeconomic black hole this creates is just staggering. McKinsey data proves this safe bias leaves up to $28 trillion in global GDP on the table by 2025.
$28 trillion. That is roughly the combined GDP of the U.S. and China just gone.
Poof. Just vanished because of bad math in the hiring process.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's literally like buying a state-of-the-art supercomputer, but only using it as a basic desk calculator, all because you assume it's more committed to staying on the desk.
That is a perfect analogy. You're getting the processing power, but you're artificially limiting as output. But thankfully, moving to the solutions, there are structural fixes that bypass human bias entirely.
Right, like the Toronto Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, they famously started using physical screens during blind auditions to hide the musicians' identities.
Which removes the visual trigger for bias.
Exactly. And they saw a dramatic, immediate shift toward gender balance.
But, I mean, you can't exactly put a physical screen in a corporate boardroom.
No, you can't.
Oh.
But you can change the systemic incentives. Look at Sweden's Nordic blueprint. They introduced these non-transferable daddy months for parental leave.
Oh, right, where if the father doesn't take his portion of the leave, the family just loses it entirely,
Yep. It completely changes the whole calculus and forces a shared care burden.
which then neutralizes the manager's internal assumption that only the woman will eventually step away for caregiving. That's brilliant.
It levels the playing field, so commitment is no longer judged through a gendered lens.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, take a hard look at your own organization. Are you overlooking your own master chefs?
Yeah, are part-time roles automatically treated as dead ends? Are you confusing a lack of vertical networking with a lack of actual competence?
Exactly. And Schiller proposes this really provocative idea called reverse convergence, where instead of forcing women to adapt to rigid corporate ladders, men should start adopting the flexible working models that women have pioneered.
Right, like prioritizing balance over just blind ladder climbing.
Exactly. So think about what happens if top male talent begins actively refusing traditional promotions to embrace a balanced life. Will corporations finally be forced to redesign the rigid C-suite structure entirely? Or will they just keep trying to use supercomputers to do basic math? Something for you to chew on.